The forced union begins. In the far future, the galaxy was no longer a place of freedom. It was ruled by the Galactic Council, a powerful group made of many alien species. They controlled laws, war, peace, and even life itself. Humans were once strong. They once explored stars and built empires. But now they were almost gone. Only a few humans remained. And those humans were no longer free. They were treated like living relics, rare, silent, and dangerous in ways no one fully understood. The silent chamber. Deep inside the council station, there was a hidden chamber. No guard spoke near it. No scientist stayed there too long. Inside that chamber, something ancient was kept alive. A human girl. She was inside a crystal pod. Her body looked peaceful, like she was sleeping. But she was not awake for years, maybe decades, maybe longer. No one knew her real age. No one knew where she came from. They only knew one rule. Do not wake her. The desperate call from the council. On another side of the galaxy, Prince Kale received an emergency call. Kale was not an ordinary being. He was a noble of the Zerion Empire, one of the strongest alien races in the galaxy. His people were warriors, thinkers, and rulers of many systems. But even Kale had to obey the Galactic Council. The hologram message appeared in his private chamber. The council elder spoke in a cold voice. Prince Kale, you are required to fulfill an ancient treaty obligation. Kale frowned. What obligation? He asked. The elder paused before answering. You must take part in the human binding ritual. Kale stayed silent for a moment. Humans. That word always carried strange weight in the galaxy. Some feared them. Some worshipped their past. Some wanted them erased completely. Kale had never met one. Until now, the forced order. The council elder continued. You will marry a sleeping human bride. Kale thought he heard wrong. Sleeping what? The elder repeated slowly. A human female is preserved in stasis. You will take her as your bonded partner under council law. Kale's eyes narrowed. This sounds like a joke. It is not, the elder replied. This is law older than any empire. You will obey. Kale stepped closer to the hologram. Why me? The elder's voice lowered. Because your bloodline is strong enough to survive her awakening if it happens. Kale felt something cold in his chest. If it happens, he repeated. The elder did not answer directly. Instead, he said, you leave for council station immediately. And then the hologram disappeared. Journey into silence. Kale traveled alone. His ship moved through empty space, passing stars like burning dots in the dark. During the journey, he could not sleep properly. The words kept repeating in his mind. A sleeping human bride, if she wakes. Survive her awakening. He did not understand why. But something about this mission felt wrong. Very wrong. Arrival at the council station. The station was massive. It floated like a dead world in space. Thousands of ships surrounded it. But everything felt silent. No celebration. No welcome. Only tension. Kale's ship docked and he stepped out. 2 armored guards waited for him. They did not speak. They only guided him forward. Deeper and deeper into the station. The forbidden hallway. As Kale walked, he noticed something strange. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Not physically, but emotionally. It felt like the air itself was heavy. Even the guards avoided looking at certain doors. Kale finally asked, what is behind those doors? One guard hesitated, then replied quietly, things we're not allowed to remember. Kale did not ask again. The crystal chamber. Finally, they stopped at a large door. It was black, smooth, and covered in glowing symbols. The guard stepped back. This is your destination, one said. Kale looked at the door. It slowly opened. Inside was a large circular chamber filled with dim blue light, and in the center, a crystal pod. The sleeping human. Kale walked forward slowly. Inside the crystal was a human girl. She looked young, too peaceful for something that caused so much fear. Her hair floated slightly, as if she was underwater. Her skin glowed softly. Kale had seen many alien species in his life, but this was different. She did not look powerful. She did not look dangerous. She looked fragile, and that made him uneasy. The warning. A voice came from behind him. It was a council elder again, speaking through a speaker. Do not be fooled by her appearance. Kale turned slightly. What is she? The elder replied. A sealed anomaly, a remnant of a forgotten war. Kale stepped closer to the pod. And why am I here? The elder answered slowly. Because the bond must be completed. Kale looked at the sleeping girl again. A strange silence filled the room. Then the elder added, if she wakes uncontrolled, the galaxy may not survive it. The first contact. Kale moved closer, against his better judgment. He placed his hand on the crystal. It was warm. That shocked him. The pod was supposed to be cold storage, but it felt alive. He leaned closer to look at her face. For a moment, everything was still. Then, her finger moved, just slightly. Kale froze. His breath stopped. The guards outside did not react. No alarm sounded. It was like the system itself ignored what just happened. Kale stepped back slowly. What was that? He whispered. No one answered. The hidden reaction. Deep inside the station systems, something changed. Old sensors, long shut down, briefly activated. A signal traveled through unknown channels. Far across space, something responded. Something that had been asleep, even longer than the human girl. But in the chamber, Kale did not know that. He only felt it. A strange pressure in the air, like the universe had just noticed them. The forced decision. The elder's voice returned again. Prince Kale, the ritual must begin. Kale looked at the sleeping human, then at the crystal, then back at nothing. He realized something important. He was not being asked. He was being used. But refusing was not an option. The council did not allow refusal. Kale clenched his fists. I accept the obligation, he said coldly. The chamber doors slowly closed behind him. Final moment of the part. As the doors sealed, Kale stood alone in front of the sleeping human. The room grew quieter. Too quiet. He looked at her again. And for the first time in his life, Prince Kale felt unsure. Not of war, not of enemies, but of the things sleeping in front of him. And deep inside the crystal, the human girl's eyes moved slightly beneath her closed lids, as if she had heard everything. And somewhere in the galaxy, something ancient began to wake up. The secret awakening begins. The doors of the chamber closed behind Prince Kale with a heavy sound. A final lock clicked. Silence returned. Only the soft blue light of the crystal pod remained in the room. Kale stood still for a moment, watching the sleeping human girl. Something about her had changed. He could not prove it, but he could feel it. The strange silence. Outside the chamber, the entire station continued its normal operations. Scientists walked. Guards moved. Systems ran. But inside Kale's mind, nothing felt normal anymore. He kept replaying the moment. Her finger moved. Just a small motion. But it was enough to disturb him deeply. He had seen many strange things in his life. Wars between star systems. Planets collapsing. Weapons that erased light itself. But this silent girl inside Crystal, she made him feel something different. Uncertainty. The hidden chamber protocol. A voice suddenly came through the room speaker again. It was not the council elder this time. It was a system voice. Bonding protocol will now begin. Kale turned slowly. What bonding? He asked aloud. No answer came. Instead, the crystal pod began to glow slightly brighter. Lines of light appeared around it, forming a circle. Symbols Kale did not understand started floating in the air. He stepped closer. This is not a marriage ritual, he muttered. It feels like a containment system. The first glitch. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then the entire chamber vibrated slightly. Kale looked around. What is happening? He said. The system voice returned, but now it sounded broken. Error. Memory lock. Failing. Kale's eyes widened. Memory lock? Before he could think further, the crystal pod made a soft cracking sound. Kale froze instantly. The sound repeated. Crack, crack. Very small, but real. The dream inside the crystal. Inside the pod, the sleeping girl was not truly asleep anymore. Her mind was somewhere else. A place not bound by time. A memory space. She stood in darkness. Not physical darkness, but endless void. Then slowly, images began forming. A planet burning, sky breaking apart, strange giant creatures falling from space, and humans, not weak, not silent, but fighting, screaming, resisting. She saw herself in those memories, running through ruins, a voice calling her name. But she could not remember who she was. Only pain remained. Kale's unexpected vision. At the same moment, Kale suddenly froze. His vision blurred. He stepped back. "What is this?" he whispered. The room disappeared, and he saw it too. The same burning planet, the same collapsing sky. But this time he was there, standing among soldiers, fighting something unknown, a massive shadow in the sky, something not alien, something older than stars. Kale stumbled back into reality. He was breathing heavily. His heart raced. "This is not possible," he said. "Shared vision?" The Council's secret observation. Far away, in another part of the station, hidden cameras activated. The Council elders were watching, not directly, but through encrypted observation systems. One of them spoke quietly. "The seal is weakening." Another replied, "It should not be possible this early." A third voice added, "The human is reacting to the Zerion bloodline." Silence followed. Then the first elder said, "If she fully awakens, the treaty fails." Kale approaches the pod again. Kale forced himself to calm down. He walked back toward the crystal. Each step felt heavier. The pod was now brighter. The girl inside looked less like she was sleeping, and more like she was trapped. Kale raised his hand. He hesitated, then slowly touched the crystal again. This time it was hot. Too hot. He pulled back instantly. But it was too late. A pulse of energy hit him. The voice inside her mind. Kale heard a whisper, not through speakers, not through machines, directly inside his mind. "Do not open it." Kale looked around sharply. "Who said that?" he asked. No answer. The voice came again. "Do not let them wake me." Kale turned toward the pod. The girl's eyes were still closed, but her lips moved slightly. She was speaking. Inside her sleep, the Council's warning returns. The system voice returned again, now more stable. Final bonding phase required. Kale frowned. "This is not bonding," he said firmly. "This is control." The system did not respond. Instead, a mechanical arm descended from the ceiling. It carried a strange glowing device. It moved toward Kale's chest. Kale stepped back quickly. "What is that?" he demanded. The voice replied, "Neural connection initiator." Kale's eyes widened. "No." The first resistance. Kale raised his hand and stopped the device midair. His energy field activated. The device froze. Alarms immediately triggered in the chamber. But Kale did not stop. He looked at the sleeping girl. Something inside him changed. He was not going to allow this. Not anymore. "If this is a weapon," Kale said quietly, "then I refuse it." The crystal reacts. The moment he said that, the crystal exploded with light. Not destruction, but awakening energy. The girl inside moved again. This time, both hands. Kale stepped back fast. The entire chamber shook. Systems began failing. The Council alarms finally activated. But it was too late. The sleeping human was no longer fully asleep. Her eyes slowly opened. The first awakening. Her eyes were not normal. They were glowing faintly, like distant stars trapped in her gaze. She looked at Kale. Not confused. Not scared. Just aware. Kale stood frozen. He had faced armies before. He had never felt fear. But in that moment, he could not move. She spoke softly. Her voice was weak, but it carried something ancient. "You shouldn't have touched the seal." The station reacts. Outside the chamber, alarms finally erupted across the entire station. Lights turned red. Security forces rushed. Doors locked automatically. But the systems were unstable. Something was interfering with everything. A voice echoed through the station. "Containment failure. Anomaly awakening. Level 9 threat detected." Kale and the girl. Inside the chamber, Kale finally found his voice. "Who are you?" he asked. The girl looked at him, slowly, as if remembering something lost. "I am what they tried to erase." Kale frowned. What does that mean? She looked down at her hands, then whispered, I am the last memory of the First War. A deep silence filled the room. Final moment of part 2. The chamber walls began cracking with light. Reality itself seemed unstable. The girl stepped forward from the broken crystal. Kale did not stop her. He could not. She looked at him one last time and said, If I fully wake, they will come again. Kale asked softly, Who will come? She looked into the distance, not at him, not at the station, but beyond everything, and answered, The ones who ended the gods. When the galaxy holds its breath, the entire council station was in chaos. Red alarms flashed across every corridor. Security drones moved fast. Heavy doors sealed one after another. But none of it mattered anymore. Something inside the sealed chamber had already changed everything. The girl steps out. Inside the chamber, the sleeping human girl was no longer fully asleep. She stood near the broken crystal pod. Her eyes were open now, glowing faintly like distant stars. Prince Kale stood a few steps away, still confused, still frozen by what he had just seen. The girl looked at him for a moment, not with fear, not with anger, but with something deeper. Recognition mixed with sadness. You are not part of the old memory, she said softly. Kale frowned. I don't understand you. The girl did not answer. Instead, she turned her head slightly toward the ceiling, as if she was listening to something far away, something only she could hear. A signal across the stars, deep in space, far beyond the council station. Something responded. A silent signal moved through broken space routes. Not a normal communication. It was older than technology, older than empires. It traveled across dead systems, collapsed stars, and forgotten war zones, until it reached its destination. A world made of floating volcanic islands, a sky filled with burning red clouds, and a throne carved from dragon bone. The dragon princess wakes. On the throne, a figure opened her eyes. She was tall, beautiful in a dangerous way. Her skin had faint glowing patterns like ancient fire. Her wings were folded behind her like shadows of storms. This was the dragon princess of the Ember Realms, one of the most feared beings in the galaxy. She slowly stood up, and for the first time in centuries, she looked surprised. The seal broke, she whispered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Then she clenched her fist. No, it should not have broken yet. The order of return. She raised her hand. A command signal activated across her empire. Warships awakened. Ancient engines roared back to life. Dragon fleets that had been sleeping for centuries began to move again. The sky above her planet lit up with thousands of burning ships. Her generals appeared through holograms. My princess, one said, what is happening? She looked into the distance. The human seal has cracked. Silence followed. Even her strongest warriors did not speak. Then she added quietly, and Kale is near it. Back at the station, inside the council station, Kale suddenly felt it. A pressure in the air, a shift in gravity. Not physical, but spiritual. The girl also reacted. Her expression changed. They are coming, she said. Kale turned sharply. Who is coming? Before she could answer, the entire station shook violently. The first arrival. Space outside the station distorted, like reality itself bending. Then a massive tear opened in space. From it, a fleet appeared. Dozens of dragon-shaped ships emerged, each one glowing like molten fire. The station sensors went crazy. Unknown fleet detected. Power levels off scale. Warning, dimensional entry. Kale stared at the view screen. What is that? He whispered. The girl stepped closer to him. Too late, she said softly. The dragon princess enters. A single ship moved ahead of the fleet. It was larger than the rest, and far more elegant. It stopped directly in front of the station. Then a beam of light hit the docking area. A figure descended. Kale saw her first. Even from a distance, he felt it. Power. Not like military strength, but like a law of nature. The being landed inside the station corridor and slowly walked forward. The meeting of three. The dragon princess entered the chamber. She saw Kale first. Then she saw the human girl. Her expression changed slightly. Not shock, not fear, but recognition. "So," she said quietly, "you finally opened your eyes." The human girl looked at her. "And you finally came." Kale stood between them, confused. "Who are you?" he asked the dragon princess. She did not look at him. Her eyes stayed on the human girl. "I am the one who guarded her seal." Kale frowned. Guarded or imprisoned? The dragon princess finally looked at him. Her eyes were sharp. "Both." The truth begins to surface. The human girl stepped forward slowly. "Tell him the truth," she said. The dragon princess sighed, then spoke. "This human is not ordinary." Kale stayed silent. "She is not even fully human." Kale looked at the girl again. She did not deny it. The dragon princess continued. "She is what remains of the first origin." Kale narrowed his eyes. "The first origin?" The princess nodded. "The source of both human and dragon life." Silence filled the chamber. Even Kale struggled to understand it. "The forgotten war." The princess walked slowly around them. "Long before your empires," she said, "there was a war. A war between creators and destroyers. The origin being was created to balance both forces." She looked at the girl, but she became too powerful. Kale asked quietly, "So they sealed her?" The princess nodded. "Yes." The human girl looked down. "I remember pieces," she whispered. "Fire." Broken worlds, voices screaming. Her hands trembled slightly. The dangerous kiss. Kale suddenly remembered something. "The crystal cracked when you arrived," he said. The princess nodded. "And when I touched your seal?" She hesitated. "I woke part of her mind." Kale frowned. "You did what?" The princess looked at him. "I did not intend it." The human girl suddenly looked at the princess. "You shouldn't have kissed the seal." Kale froze. "Kissed?" The princess looked away slightly. "I had no choice." Kale shook his head. "This is insane." The station collapse begins. Suddenly, alarms intensified again. The station's structure began breaking apart. Not physically at first, but dimensionally. Walls flickered. Floors shifted. Reality felt unstable. A system voice echoed. "Containment failure in progress." Reality core unstable. Evacuation impossible. Kale turned sharply. "This station is falling apart." The princess stayed calm. "It is not the station," she said. "It is her memory waking fully." The human girl changes. The girl began to glow brighter. Her body lifted slightly off the ground. Kale stepped back. "What is happening to her?" The princess answered. "She is remembering everything." The girl looked at Kale, but her voice changed. Deeper, stronger. "Stop them." Kale frowned. "Stop who?" Then suddenly, the entire station froze. Time itself slowed. Everything became silent, except her voice. "Stop the ones who erase me." Final moment. A massive energy wave expanded from the chamber. The dragon princess knelt slightly. Even she felt pressure from it. Kale could barely stand. The human girl floated higher, her eyes now fully glowing like twin galaxies. She looked at both of them and said, "If I fully wake, the war will begin again." The princess closed her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. Kale stepped forward. "Then stop it." The girl looked at him and answered softly, "It is already too late." When reality finally breaks, the station was no longer stable. Walls flickered like broken holograms. Time slowed in some areas, while in others it moved too fast. Sound came and went like glitches in space itself. Prince Kale stood in the middle of it all, barely able to keep his balance. The dragon princess was still kneeling, her head lowered, as if she was resisting something unseen. And the human girl was no longer fully human in appearance. She floated in the air. Her body was surrounded by glowing symbols that were not written in any known language. Her eyes were open, but they did not look at the station anymore. They looked beyond it, beyond the galaxy. The voice of the origin. A deep voice filled the chamber. It was not loud, but it was everywhere. "You should not have opened the seal." Kale froze. It was not the girl speaking. It was something inside her. The dragon princess whispered, "It has begun." Kale turned to her. "What has begun?" The princess did not answer immediately. Instead, she stood up slowly, struggling against the pressure in the air. Then she said, "The full awakening. The truth about Kale." The human girl suddenly turned her gaze toward Kale. Her glowing eyes locked onto him. Kale felt something strange. Pain and memory. Not his memory. Something else. He saw flashes. A battlefield. A broken sky. A younger version of himself holding a glowing blade. He stepped back, breathing heavily. "What is this?" he shouted. The dragon princess looked at him. "You are connected," she said. Kale shook his head. "That is impossible." The princess stepped closer. "You are not just a noble warrior." She paused. "You are part of the old defense line." Kale frowned. "The what?" "The system that once guarded her." Silence fell again. The girl speaks again. The floating human girl tilted her head slightly. Her voice changed again. But this time it was softer. Almost human. "You forgot your purpose." Kale felt a sharp pain in his head. Images came again. He saw himself standing in front of a giant gate. He saw armies bowing to him. He saw the girl sleeping inside a crystal. Kale stumbled. "No, I don't remember this." The dragon princess spoke firmly. "They erased your memory after the war." Kale looked at her. "Why?" "Because you refused to destroy her." The council's final move. Far away, inside the deepest part of the Galactic Council system, panic spread. Elder voices shouted through holograms. "She is fully waking. The containment is gone. We must activate Protocol Zero." A large red button appeared in the council chamber. A final weapon. One that could erase entire regions of space. One of the elders raised his hand. "Do it." The arrival of Death Fleet. Back at the station, space outside cracked again. But this time, not dragons arrived. A darker fleet appeared. Black ships. Silent. No energy signature. No life readings. Kale felt it instantly. "These are not yours," he said to the dragon princess. She shook her head. "No." Her eyes narrowed. "The council has activated the Erasure fleet." Kale's face tightened. "Erasure?" The princess answered. "They do not capture anymore. They delete." The girl's rage begins. The human girl floated higher. Her glowing symbols expanded. The entire chamber started breaking apart into fragments of light. Her voice deepened again. "They still try to erase me." The station shook violently. Kale shouted, "Stop this. You will destroy everything." But she did not listen. The dragon princess stepped forward. "Kale, we must calm her." Kale looked at her. "How?" The princess hesitated. "There is only one way." Kale narrowed his eyes. "What way?" She looked at him seriously. "A bond anchor. The forbidden bond." Kale stepped back. "No." The princess frowned. "It is the only way to stabilize her mind." Kale shook his head. "I don't even understand what she is." The princess said firmly, "She is not just a weapon. She is memory itself." Kale looked at the floating girl. Her body was now becoming brighter, almost like a star forming. He whispered, "If I do this, what happens to me?" The princess answered honestly, "You will share her fate." Silence. The choice. The station was collapsing faster now. The Erasure fleet was getting closer. Time distortion increased. Kale looked at the girl. She was no longer just floating. She was expanding, becoming something larger than the chamber. A presence filling reality. Kale closed his eyes, then opened them again. Slowly, he stepped forward. "What do I do?" he asked. The princess nodded. "Touch her." "That's it." Kale looked at her. "That's it." She nodded. "But mean it." The moment of connection. Kale walked forward. Each step felt heavier than war. He reached the floating girl. Her glowing eyes turned toward him. For a moment, everything stopped. No alarms. No station collapse. No fleet. Just silence. Kale raised his hand slowly. He touched her glowing hand. Instantly, a shockwave of memory exploded through him. The forgotten war returns. Kale saw everything. The first war, not between races, but between existence itself. Beings that wanted silence, and beings that wanted life. The origin being was created to balance both, but she became too powerful, too alive, so they sealed her and erased anyone who remembered her, including Kale. He fell to his knees. "Now I remember," he whispered. "The Dragon Princess's truth." The Dragon Princess stepped forward. Her voice was softer now. "I did not just guard her." Kale looked at her. "What did you do?" She lowered her head. "I betrayed her to save the galaxy." Kale stared at her. "And was it worth it?" She did not answer, because she did not know. The final awakening. The human girl finally stopped growing. She looked at Kale. Her voice was now fully calm. "You chose to remember." Kale nodded slowly. "Yes." She turned toward the approaching Erasure fleet. "They are here again." Kale stood up. "What now?" She looked at him, and for the first time, she smiled slightly. "Now we end it." The birth of Origin War. The entire station exploded into light. Reality cracked open. The Erasure fleet entered firing, but their weapons stopped midair. Frozen. Kale, the Dragon Princess, and the Origin being stood together. 3 forces. 3 truths. 1 war returning after eternity. The girl raised her hand and said, "Let them remember what they erased." Final moment. A wave of Origin energy spread across space. Stars flickered. Entire regions of the galaxy began waking. Ancient beings opened their eyes. And Kale finally understood. This was not a rescue mission. This was a return of a forgotten war. And he was no longer just a warrior. He was part of the beginning.